Everybody keeps asking me, how are you so calm? How are you so peaceful? My clients tell me that, my friends tell me that, even strangers tell me that. But here's what surprises them. I wasn't always like that. I was anxious. I couldn't even get out of the house because I was constantly thinking what other people might think of me. I had depression. I had a panic attack. I grew up in a really chaotic, dysfunctional family environment. And I cultivated that within myself. Peace didn't come naturally to me. So when I tell you I can do it, you can do it too. Which is why today I'm going to share with you a guide on how to feel calm within yourself during uncertainty. How to stop feeling anxious and start establishing inner peace within yourself and radiate calm, because that is possible for you. If you're new here, hi, my name is Chrisana. Here we speak all about inner work, inner healing, and self-development. Welcome. If you've been here before, hi, welcome back. And yeah, let's get into the video. Before I start sharing the tips, I just want to share that right now you might be feeling a lot of anxiety because of this uncertainty, and this is perfectly normal, because when we are in life transitions, when maybe right now you broke up with your ex, maybe you lost your job, maybe you are starting that new creative project, maybe you moved to a new country, maybe you're doing a lot of inner healing, anything and everything. So when you're in this phase, everything seems new. And new in our nervous system registers as a threat. So your nervous system is constantly scanning for threats in order to keep you safe. So your interpretation, our interpretation as humans of uncertainty becomes anxiety, registers as a threat. So this new project, this new maybe relationship, maybe you're starting something new in this new country, registers in your nervous system as threat. Until it doesn't. We're gonna get into that in a bit. So yeah, right now you might feel out of control, you might feel really in this overwhelming state, you might be feeling stressed, you might be overthinking, ruminating, doubting yourself, anything. So let's change that. Because once you understand and apply those 4 tips I'm gonna share with you today, you're gonna be in an entirely different state. Your whole life is gonna change. And I know that because my life changed. So let's get into that. The first thing I wanna share is a micro thing you can do. A thing you can do in the instant, in the moment. This is about interrupting the survival loop. What do I mean by that? This is all about when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel activated, when you feel triggered and you are about to distract yourself. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe you're scrolling, maybe you're overeating, maybe you are watching a lot of YouTubes. Hi, I see you. I've been there. Maybe you're avoiding, maybe you're procrastinating and self-sabotaging. So for you, it might be scrolling instead of creating that new project. For some other person, it might be texting a lot of people instead of sitting down with themselves and meditating, anything. So what I want you to do is, instead of reacting by engaging in this self-sabotaging behavior, is pausing. Now, this is easier said than done, I'm aware. But what you can do is identify firstly when and where and how you self-sabotage. Once you identify it, it's easier to pause. Because we want to interrupt this loop, right? This is a survival loop, and it is created because right now you are in this uncertainty and you don't know how to handle that. Your nervous system is dysregulated and it kind of finds way to keep you in regulation. And this is its wisdom. It's beautiful to have all of those survival mechanisms embedded in us. And at the same time, we want to get you into thriving, right? So once you pause, instead of engaging in this self-sabotaging behavior, what you're gonna do is you're gonna sit with yourself. And I want you to ask yourself this question. What am I trying to escape from? What am I afraid of happening if I don't engage in this self-sabotaging behavior? Now, you know what I'm going to say right now. If you've been here before, you can journal that out. You can sit in it with meditation and see what comes up from your intuition. Whatever works for you, just sit with this answer, see what comes up and record it so you remember This way, you are creating awareness. And when we create awareness, we break the cycle. This is the first step. It's not the only step, but you can break the cycle once you establish awareness. You cannot break any dysfunctional cycle if you don't create awareness. Now, let's get into the next step. And all of the next steps, I think there are 3, they're going to be more of long-term repeated behaviors that you would need to establish in order to feel calm and peaceful. Now, the first thing I want you to do is to create a place that regulates your nervous system. Think of it as your safe space. And that can happen in 2 ways, which I'm going to get into that in a bit. But the reason that I'm saying you need to establish this safe space for yourself is that chances are right now you feel scattered, you feel overwhelmed, disconnected, even lost, and entirely confused. So we want to bring you in a state of safety. And safety creates calmness. Regulating your nervous system creates calmness. The reason I don't have in this list regulating your nervous system is because I think we all have heard that the past few years especially. So I want to provide you with a specific way you can regulate your nervous system repeatedly all throughout this uncertainty. And this is the first thing that I do with my clients inside Metamorphosis. So grab a pen and a paper and make sure to do this practice and come back and let me know what happens, because this is going to change your life. Once you establish that through repeated action, oof, I'm so excited for you. It's gonna change your life. The reason I'm emphasizing repeated behavior is that when we repeat something over time, our state of consciousness drops in that. When we establish the ritual, the habit, whatever it is, drops instantly. So in the beginning, it might be difficult. You might be feeling a bit of resistance, a bit of anxiety, a bit of fear. But over time, if you repeat this behavior, if you repeat establishing this safe space, I promise you, you're gonna start feeling calmer and calmer every single moment. And by the end, maybe after a month of doing that, maybe 2 months, you're gonna start feeling calm only thinking about that. This is based on neuroscience. I'm not stating anything new here. This is just creating new neural pathways. So the ways you're gonna do that. I personally like to have, and this is what I recommend to my clients too, an imagined self space and a real one. For example, I love nature. I love going on walks. I love swimming in the sea. I feel so safe in nature. That's been the case for me since I was a young child. And that creates instant safety within my nervous system. But once I established a specific space, I started going every week on my forest walks. I noticed that my nervous system begins melting even deeper and deeper every single time I started going there, because my nervous system knew what's going to happen there. I would feel safe. I would be surrounded by trees. I would feel the sun in my face. I would feel the breeze. I would hear the birds chirping. I would see the blue sky, the mountain. I would be present with it all. And so the other tip is to engage all of your senses as much as you can. So remember, all of the senses: sight, smell, taste. If you can't taste, you can grab a drink with you. If you like walks like me, I usually do that. Hearing and touch. The other thing that you do when you establish a physical safe space, you are saying to your nervous system that you are safe. Whatever happens in your life, you are resourced. You have the inner resources within yourself. You know what to do when you feel anxious, and you do that immediately, instantaneously. You don't have to think about that. You know how you're gonna calm yourself. And that creates self-trust within yourself, which is a big component of feeling that inner peace and calmness. The other thing you can do is sit in meditation and start visualizing a safe space. That can be nature, that can be a mountain, sea, cafe, a special place for you that you like to come back again and again and again. It can be even an entirely imagined space, like in another planet. It's up to you. Whatever feels safe to your body, whatever comes to you, trust that. And again, you would really need to engage your 5 senses in order to make it more real, because our subconscious doesn't know the difference between something imagined or real. So the more you engage your senses, the more real it becomes. And again, you become anchored in this safety, in this calmness. After repeated exposure to that, it's gonna become so much easier to feel calm, even within seconds, I promise you. Next thing on the list, and this is something most people will never tell you in terms of creating calmness, but I think it's really important. And if you avoid that, you're gonna create a fake calmness, if you will. It's not gonna be a permanent state of being. And this is about building self-trust through tiny promises. So, as I just mentioned, when you build self-trust within yourself, you can accelerate this sensation, this feeling, this even permanent state of being calm. This is because when you create trust within yourself, you can trust yourself that something is gonna happen. So you don't feel anxious anymore, because anxiety is gonna increase if you don't know what's gonna happen the next moment. It's connected to this feeling of loss of control. And especially right now, during this uncertainty, you might be feeling even more out of control, which is really normal, but we want to get you to the other side of this, right? So build and keep those promises to yourself. Let's say you moved to a new city, you got a new job, and everything is entirely new. You have no friends there. And you know, you want to meet new friends, you want to build a community, you want to create friendships, lasting friendships, but you cannot go out alone. You cannot bring yourself to go for a solo dinner. You cannot bring yourself to go to a group activity. You cannot go to the park even. And you keep self-sabotaging by staying inside, maybe scrolling on your phone, maybe doing everything and anything besides that, and staying in the house alone. So one tiny promise you can keep to yourself is go to the park alone for 1 hour. It doesn't have to be big. And reward yourself by buying you a coffee or favorite matcha, anything. Or maybe go to the cinema. Maybe it's easier for you to be focused on something. 2 hours outside the house. It doesn't have to be huge or big. In fact, it really has to be huge, because most of the time our nervous system cannot keep up with that, and chances are we're gonna just self-sabotage back to the old life. But that's a whole another conversation. I have a ton of videos on self-sabotage. If you want to know more about self-sabotage, especially during life transitions, I'm gonna leave the whole playlist down below. By doing that, maybe starting once a week, and then it's gonna become twice a week, and then you're gonna move into another activity, maybe a group activity at some point. Maybe you're gonna start saying hi to your barista, anything, because your nervous system is not resisting by chance. It knows that you want to move to this new identity, to the person who has friends in this new city, right? It doesn't do that because it is afraid of something, and that is normal. But by keeping those tiny promises to yourself, you're establishing not just self-trust within yourself, which is incredibly important to build confidence, to build your self-esteem, to build a better self-image, because that creates your whole reality. It is also important because it creates calmness. Once you do that tiny action, you are basically saying to yourself subconsciously, oh, I can trust myself. I am somebody who's trustworthy. I walk the talk. I'm not just saying things to say things. And that creates safety in your nervous system, especially right now during this uncertainty. That creates certainty within yourself, within your self-image, within your life. It is so essential. I cannot stress that enough. And that, in its own turn, creates calmness and a sense of peace, because you know, whatever happens in your life, you can do that. You can start small and consistently, and you can do that. This is how you get into the next level. You don't have to do anything huge. It's one small step at a time, one tiny step at a time. This is how you create calm, and that's not spoken enough. Last but not least, and this is my favorite one, this is one of the psychological codes inside Metamorphosis too, and this is building an inner compassionate voice. Now you might ask me, how does an inner compassionate voice relates to calmness. And to that, I have to say a lot actually, but let's start simple. Becoming anxious, first of all, doesn't just happen and then this is it. They get overwhelmed with anxiety. It comes with a voice that instantly attacks those people. It's this voice that tells you that you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe it says to you, who do you think you are for starting that career? I am behind in life. You shouldn't be doing that. Everybody else is ahead in life. What's wrong with you? I'll never figure this out. I'm so dumb. All of those things. And when that inner critic voice takes the lead in your life, there is no space for calmness. There is no space for peace. There is no space for warmth, for seeing yourself from your true wholeness, from your authenticity, from seeing yourself as you are, whole and worthy. So this inner critic voice, when it gets activated, it's not just a thing in your mind. It also dysregulates your nervous system. It also lives in your nervous system and in your subconscious mind. So the thing we do inside Metamorphosis, and what I want you to do, the first step is, instead of saying to yourself, let's say, you should know better by now, I want you to replace that slowly and steadily with, I am new to this and I am learning. Every step of the way matters. Maybe put one hand on your heart and say that repeatedly. Every step of the way matters. I am learning right now. In the beginning, that might feel untrue, that might feel fake, but over time, because you're gonna start developing and cultivating that inner compassionate voice, the inner critic inside of you is going to dissipate. If you're not sure what to say to yourself, just start asking yourself that question. What can I say to myself right now that my inner compassionate self would respond with? And sit with that, see what comes up, and trust that inner voice, because I guarantee you this inner compassionate voice is inside of you. It is just you haven't cultivated that enough. You can activate it by watering it daily. The more you water it, you give it the appropriate nutrients, the more it's gonna flourish. From a seed, it's gonna become a whole flower, a whole tree. And you're gonna be feeling so calm and peaceful because you're gonna know inside of yourself that there's nothing wrong with you. Chances are, if you have this loud inner critic voice, you are constantly, subconsciously thinking to yourself, oh my God, there's something wrong with me, even at all times, but this is subconscious and you might not be even accessing that. And when you build this internal sense of safety, this internal sense of calmness, you don't rely so much on external sources to be peaceful or calm. You establish this inner safety and peace within yourself firstly. This is also based in Eastern traditions, mindfulness, Hinduism. Every single religion has as a base being kind or compassionate, because naturally as humans we have this capacity inside of ourselves. We just need to build it. And again, this is especially powerful when outside circumstances of you right now during this uncertainty are out of control. It's so essential to build that inner voice that it's on your side, not against you, because you have a whole team on your side inside of yourself. You just haven't accessed it yet. And it's up to you to activate it. Compassion creates psychological safety within yourself, and psychological safety creates calmness and peace within yourself, no matter the outside circumstances. This is all for today. Let me repeat those steps for you. First of all, in the moment, interrupt the survival loop. So that is when you're gonna be activated, overwhelmed, entirely anxious, you don't know what's going on. You're gonna need to interrupt the survival loop. Then we have building a safe space internally and externally. Then we have building self-trust through tiny actions, so you don't have to overwhelm your nervous system. You create safety and calmness this way. And last one is developing and cultivating your inner compassionate voice. So let me know which one of those tips you're gonna try for yourself, and come back and let us know how it went after a week, after even a month. I would love to know. This is why I'm making those videos, so please let me know. And I want to remind you that developing calmness and peacefulness, it is not the destination, it's the whole journey. It takes practice. It doesn't just happen overnight. So it is up to you. It is a choice. That's a good thing, because you learn to earn that, and then you treasure that thing because you created that, and nobody can take that away from you. Remember that once you cultivate that, nobody outside you can take that away from you. This is something you built for yourself, nobody else. Even though other people, of course, they're gonna benefit from that. You are making the world a better place by showing up for yourself. You already have everything you need inside of yourself. You are just cultivating the resources. So if you want to accelerate your journey, you want to go deeper into creating self-trust, clarity, grounded decisions based on your true self, aligned action, getting out of this uncertainty, the fear, the anxiety, I want to invite you inside Metamorphosis. This is where we take you from uncertainty to developing internal safety, internal certainty during uncertain times. It creates inner peace, clarity. You stop self-sabotaging. You act courageously. You step out of fear and into courageous action, and so much more. I am so excited because I recently created the self-paced version, because I know a lot of you like to go at their own pace. We still have the other version, which includes coaching. So I'm going to leave the link down below. I am beyond excited. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for giving me this tiny piece of your time today. And I will see you next week. Bye.